What's up everyone, welcome to Akuma's Arsenal, and today we are not reviewing a watch. We are actually going to talk about some tips for people who want to get into watch collecting. So at school the other day, I was chatting with one of my acquaintances who I would now consider a friend. His name is Juan, and Juan was talking about, he knows he's trying to get into watches, so I figured I'd shoot him some tips so that he can get into the hobby with his feet running and not do a lot of the mistakes that I did. And also you guys, so leave your tips for beginners or newbies or for anyone, because I could learn from you guys too, in the comments below. Alright, first of all, if you're buying something and it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. A while back I ordered it's not a mistake, but I ordered a vintage Spankin' Seiko 5 from India for like less than 20 bucks. For 20 bucks, it was probably the best watch you could have, right? But I just ordered a vintage Bostock and I haven't handled it yet, but for $20 more, I could have gotten something with actual history, something that, maybe with actual history, something that is completely original, something that has its own character and personality, and it doesn't have anything unoriginal about it. It's just a watch from Russia, made in the Soviet Union, right? And that's sort of what happens when you collect watches. You kind of go through these phases. Really weird to say. But for a while, I thought, Seiko, okay, I'm only gonna collect Seiko, and trust me, most of my collection, from what I can see in the future, will be Seikos. But just understand that a lot of the things you're feeling now, you probably won't feel, later down the road. So, I guess there's two things in that. A, if it's too good to be true, it is. That especially works for when you're buying timepieces from all different price ranges. If you find like a watch that should be $300 and it's up there for $50, yeah, trust me, it's too good to be true. B, you're gonna go through phases, and whatever you're kind of thinking now might not be what you will settle / want in the future. So keep that in mind. Whatever you're feeling now, especially in the beginning, as you're continuing to learn. Everyone's still learning, but as you continue to start off the beginning of the journey, you're gonna go through some phases. In the beginning, they go by real fast. For a while, one of my phases was like, okay, I'm only gonna collect Orient watches. Yeah, man, I've been through a few. Maybe we'll make a video about it one time. Really do your research. How am I gonna put it? Okay, basically keep on learning. On top of that, don't act or try to seem or don't pretend that you know more than what you do now, right? So since I started this YouTube channel, before I've handled including ones that all the watches I've ever handled might have been around 10 watches, right, in total, including families, including ones that I've owned in the past, everything, 10 watches. If you can only really discuss what you have handled or that you've seen in person, or what maybe your friend has and you've seen on his wrists, or held in your hands, or you've seen with your own eyes. Because when you're looking at watches on the internet, they're really, it's different once you have them in person. For example, with the Bostock, I thought Bostocks were ugly as hell. But then once I got one in the flesh, I loved it so much that I ordered a vintage one. Right now I've got a Seiko Monster, and damn, never in my life would I have ever handled one if it wasn't for Arnie lending me his. And I kind of like it. I like the watch. So you can never really fully discuss your thoughts about a watch until you've held it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. If you trust your instincts. If you think that okay, this, with that vintage Seiko 5, I don't regret buying that thing at all, because I learned, now whenever I look at vintage watches, I can tell whenever the dial's repainted or the hands look like they're kind of, that doesn't really look like they're from that era. With that vintage Seiko 5 for $20, I got a pretty shitty, I got a pretty crappy watch, but in the process I learned how to spot, redials. I learned how to spot I learned how to just spot little things on vintage watches that, hey, that shouldn't be there. And it's all about that's the continuous part of the learning process. Another thing I'd recommend is start low. Please start low, because when you're spending those higher echelons amounts of money on watches, dude, you really need to be experienced before you start dropping, a month's salary on a watch. Me and Arnie's watch collecting philosophies are very, very different. I personally, plan it out. I planned out, okay, my collection's gonna look like this. I have all the pictures up. Okay, this one, I've got this one. Of course that vision changes, right? But I'm pretty precise with watch collecting. Arnie, on the other hand, dude loves to just experience hella watches. Dude, I can't remember exactly the number, but he said right now he has over 15 watches, just period. More than 15 watches. I think he said he might have around 20 watches. So very, very different from me. Good for me and good for him, because we both get to experience a bunch of new watches. But that's actually learn. Okay, here, listen what I'm saying. Learn from people like Arnie, right? Because Arnie, he makes mistakes, sort of, not really. What I'm trying to say is, people like Arnie, they run through watches like crazy. They have to experience everything, right? If you're a bit more reserved like me, pay attention to Arnie. Look, see what Arnie's doing. Check out Arnie's watches, and that's the cool thing about YouTube, because you guys can see, okay, what I'm looking at and checking out and reviewing, but also through me you'd see what Arnie has, or maybe if someone else, maybe my uncle lends me his watch. You get to kind of see my viewpoints on that. YouTube is perfect for watch collecting, because it kind of brings the personal, it combines the watch with the person's collecting philosophy, and when you combine those two things, it starts to advance your watch collecting brain. Yeah, definitely, because within this past month, for example, and imagine people like TGV, who I can't even remember. He's probably reviewed over 100 different watches, right? How many people can legitimately say that they've handled over 100 watches? Very, very few. With me, for example, before, I remember I was saying I've handled maybe 10. Well, 2 months later, I've handled maybe about 20, right? And some of these watches, like this guy I'm rocking right now, the Alpinist, I've only seen in pictures, and it's crazy, because back in the day I was like, I want one of those, and now I have one in the flesh. And I can check, whether I like it or not. So find the YouTuber who you kind of feel like their taste kind of lonely aligns with yours, and keep in mind, okay, what does this guy say? With TGV, for example, we both have small wrists, so whenever he's talking about, okay, this watch wears extremely well, I pay attention to that, because we have very, very close wrist sizes, right? If I don't know, Federico was like, oh, I love this watch, I love the way it fits, I'm not gonna pay attention to that. Dude's wrists are 3 times the size of mine. Why am I going to relate the size of his wrist to mine? And that kind of goes with everything else too, right? Maybe your philosophy more closely aligns with this or that or this. Pay attention to their watch collecting philosophies. They're very, very important to building a unique and a collection that makes you happy. So keep that in mind. What else? Watches should not be your first priority, my friend. Obviously, first things first. And a lot of watch people don't really like to talk about finances. But look, personally, I would recommend never going in debt for a watch. My personal opinion. Watches should be second to your financial health. Second. Let me put that in emphasis. Second. If you want to save up and buy an $8,000 Rolex, save for it. Don't go into debt for something that you don't be so impulsive. Relax. Save your money. Think about that watch. Maybe you get an homage watch and you hold on to that for a while. Even though personally I'm not a fan, but You get a Rolex homage, you hold on to that, and then you sell it to, you know, help you get your Rolex, or, you know, whatever. But don't go into debt for watches, especially when they're very, very expensive and they're going to take a very, very long time to pay off. Watches should not be a financial burden on you. They should be a hobby that you pursue with your extra money, not the bank's money. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. So all of you guys out there, and most of my people who watch this channel, you know, you're pretty experienced. So, you know, let Juan know your tips and your mistakes, your things that you've learned, maybe even your watch collecting philosophy. Let him know in the comments below. Juan has subscribed. Juan, you don't have to say anything, but just, you know, look through the comments. You know, check to see what you like to see and what you don't. Juan is starting to get into eco drives, and he's talking about APs and Omegas. So he's on the start of the journey. So yeah. Good luck, Juan. I'll see you at school whenever I see you. Thanks for watching this video. Leave a comment about, you know, your tips for newbies, and Akuma out.